Okay, we're going to call the meeting to order. It is 7 o'clock. First orders, the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Right, roll call.
All right. Ms. Bullenbacher.
Here.
Mr. Chandler? Is not. Is he online?
No.
Mr. Choate?
Here.
Ms. Compatello?
Here.
Mr. Hoof? Here. Mr. Oliverio?
Here.
Ms. McCallum is absent, correct? Mayor Perry? Here. Solicitor Corbel is not here, but Solicitor Anna?
Here.
Here. Engineer Keenan? Here. Director Tedesco? Here. And myself. We do have a quorum.
Great. Okay, the consent agenda, we have the meeting minutes from May 8th, the bill list from May 22nd, and the reports also from May 22nd. These were all in the OneDrive for council to review and approve review. Need a motion to approve the May 22nd, 2025 consent agenda pending the bill lists approved by the borough president, manager, and treasurer.
So.
Ms. Bullenbacher,
Second.
Ms. Compatello, any questions or discussion regarding the consent agenda? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Public comments on agenda items. At this time, citizens may address the Crafton Borough Council on any issue appearing on today's agenda. Only residents and taxpayers of the Borough of Crafton will be permitted to address the council. Comments on non-agenda items will be taken at the end of tonight's meeting. Speakers will be permitted to speak for a maximum of 3 minutes. Groups of people will be required to designate a spokesperson to represent them before the council, who may speak for a maximum of 5 minutes. Council has the option to respond or not at the end of the address. The solicitors are assigned timekeeper, and please state your name and physical address for the record. First one is Mr. Wozniak.
There you go. Wozniak, 1773 Bar Avenue. When we get to the economic development, if you wouldn't mind really elaborating on the 4 bullets here, so that the public is fully informed of these 4 bullets. And if you would also expand what you're saying to all the other activities that you've done in the past 2 weeks that are not included in these bullets, we'd really appreciate it. It would help inform the public.
Sure.
Okay. Thank you. And Steve Crescenzo.
Steve Crescenzo, 79 Duncan. My comments in regard to the C20 project, not Broadhead, that I had marked.
I was wondering.
First off, wanted to apologize to Larry. I talked with him last week after the second internet line break. I was a little heated at that point, so want to formally apologize. But my question was regarding the C20 project and the plans for restoration of curb, tree line, as well as residence yards, as well as the paving plan for Duncan Avenue. We've gotten conflicting information whether it was going to be a full paving or whether it was just going to be half paving. Thank you.
Sorry, I'm taking notes, taking longer today. So I'm sorry, I didn't address Mr. Wozniak, so that would be Mr. Tedesco during your report. Regarding C20, Mr. Please.
At this time, the paving for Duncan is anticipated to include the full lane on which the sewer is located, the new sewer. That whole lane is intended to be paved 15 feet from curb to center line. And then with all the work that PA American Water has done, with all the laterals, all that paving, all the area in between of those laterals is expected to be paved as well. And a decision is to be made on whether or not the ends of that lane are to be included in the paving or not. Just the update with the paving.
What about the curbs and the tree line? Yeah. And yards?
Everything should be replaced in kind.
So we're gonna verify that obviously at the end of the project, that will happen.
Mhm.
All right, anybody else that's here? Okay, anybody online, please raise your hand. All right, first item, or I guess sixth item is President's Report. Two updates here. One is the Bird City USA. The last Shade Tree Commission, we looked through the application for Bird City USA. It's $100 registration fee for life once you get certified. And then after that, there's lots of things. You have to, the subcommittee, you have to do different bird habitats, have certain vegetation, a lot of things that we already have. So the Shade Tree Commission, led by Kristen Schuley, is leading this project. And we'll have more to update then, but we would just look through the application just to see what we would have to do, but there seems to be a lot of interest for pursuing this, in addition to our Tree City USA designation. The other update is, again, every meeting we have construction right now, and as Mr. Crescenzo said, it can be very, very frustrating, and we're going to have additional projects. We'll go through them in Larry's report. Just being patient. It's going to be a tough year of construction projects throughout the borough, and it's just going to get to be more as we go on. So patience is the key. Right, Mayor's report.
So I would like to commend the rec board and our community farm for the lovely event on Saturday. I was really honored to be able to provide a proclamation for that, and also be able to give out all the seeds that community members were so excited to get. So yeah, just a really wonderful event, a lovely day. And it was just really great to see so many people come out for that event. And again, it was really great to see our community come out for our election on Tuesday.
Great.
That's about it for me today.
And I did hear a lot of requests for it to be an annual event now. So as Aaron takes that back to the group, that was definitely the theme at that event. Solicitor's report.
I have no public report this evening.
Right, thank you. Engineer's report, Mr. Keenan.
First item on the engineer's report is the Broadhead Sewer Project. The update is the bid schedule has been received. Bids are going to be due on June 3rd and will be brought to council for potential approval also in June. We did have the pre-bid meeting yesterday, and there was I think we had 9 entities show up for that. And that's the update. Next, Perrine Street. My update on this is the same. Originally to be done with the Broadhead project, and reminder that setbacks with the property permissions have caused delays with this.
Do we want to talk about? Yep, okay. So, and this was a question too. This was originally part of Broadhead. But we want to make sure that council is still okay with us moving forward with this project. This project has been budgeted. It's on the bond sheet. It is a little over a $400,000 project. $410,000 is the estimated budget for this. We do have 280 or so thousand in grant money from Alcosan to complete this project. And this is separating out the sewer system at the bottom of Perrine, basically making the inlets at the bottom of Perrine, which are now part of the combined system, and making them a separate sewer system. So we wanted to get approval and recognition that this has been a struggle initially getting the permission to do this. But we do think we're close. So we'd like to get approval from council to keep moving forward with this project, or whether we want to consider delaying it or not doing it. We would have to do it this year essentially to get the funding that we have from Alcosan.
I think part of that is, so we have a $250,000 grant, which requires the rest to be made up to the 400,000 by the borough. this isn't required, but it potentially could cause issues down the road, as we've heard. Ms. Morris commented before, do you want to speak now again? Because I think you did a great job of explaining last time.
Sure. So we're the second house up. So what happens is when we get really, it has to be a really bad storm. I don't think we've had one probably I think the last one was about 4 years ago when it got so bad that it's flooded and it won't even drain. So what happens then is the water backs up the sewer and it starts going up. Would be rushway partly.
Yeah.
So most people either have backflow valves, which are great for stopping any sewage from coming in, because if you ever had to clean up that sewage, it's awful. But part of the problem is that also means nothing gets out. So our foundations are kind of old. We get a lot of, just if the rain's that bad, we also get water coming in, from the basement, and that water can't get out. So last time we had probably, I don't know, maybe a foot of water. So, and it just keeps going up the alley. And I actually did talk to one of our neighbors across the street, Rich and Janet King.
Yeah.
They actually get sewer gases when that thing fills up.
Okay.
So, I mean, I would hope you don't give up on the project, but it's been like that forever and it just sits in there and it doesn't have anywhere to go. It just keeps getting worse. So.
How has it been with all the rain we've had over the past few weeks?
It's actually been okay. It usually happens when it's a constant downpour.
Okay.
Like this, days of just general rain isn't bad.
Yeah.
It's when we get the really heavy storms and it can't go anywhere. And it gets so backed up. And it's down in when they redid Marine, they used to not have curbs on the sides. And when they redid it, they put curbs. So now everything flows from both sides of it and then down Bar. And it has nowhere to go.
Has the construction been positive? Do you think the construction that was up there positively affected it, or you're not sure?
The construction.
On stairs, the separation.
Yeah, it's hard to tell.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of those things you can't tell unless you get that really super bad storm.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not real sure.
So what are your thoughts on the spend of the 200,000 for the borough?
For 200, what is it, 250?
250 and then the
And
rest.
it's another 150 that's already in the budget. I mean, I hope it would get fixed. I mean, to me, it's a fix because it's been like that forever.
Yeah.
If there was somewhere else in the community that could benefit, that you could get it done, I mean, I guess it's okay, but I would really like to see it more straight. I mean, just pumping water out is not fun. And even if it only happens once every 3 or 4 years,
Right.
it's still a problem, So, I mean, I hope you wouldn't give up on the process. Hopefully, I'm not sure what's going on with the owners of that property. I mean, there's a natural valley there.
Yeah, and that's where it would go. That's where we have plans for it to go.
And it is the city, right?
It is not owned by the city, but
Right.
it's within the city, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a big water line down there too, right?
Yep, right next to it. So,
But,
yeah.
okay, well, thank you.
Does anybody else have any?
Yeah. Just to speak to procedure generally, so if we aren't able to obtain an easement from the property owner, because the property is located in the city of Pittsburgh, we will need to obtain a resolution from the city of Pittsburgh in support of the borough condemning that property through the eminent domain process and just that easement that's necessary for the project. So that would be first steps. If we aren't able to negotiate with the property owner, would be submitting a resolution to the city for their review and approval. And then we can move forward with the process under the eminent domain code to take that property, the portion of the property necessary for the project.
Yeah.
How long does that typically?
We know that can take some time and we've been working on this for a while. We don't actually have this grant money. We have an approval to get reimbursed once we do the project. That will only happen if we do it within the time period that Alcoasand has approved it. So we have a bit of a ticking clock. My thought is that we should continue the time being tentatively, but know that if we get to a point that this is taking so long that we will not be able to get this done within the time period that we have the approved, that we have notice from Alcoasand that they will reimburse us that 250,000. Then we can continue discussions about moving the project forward, but we'll have to be talking about paying the entire thing ourselves. So I would suggest that we, hear from all of council what we think, but that we can continue tentatively for now, but that we get really hard and fast numbers from, whether it's our manager or engineer, but we look at putting together a timetable and understanding, we won't know exactly how long it might take to go through the process with the city of Pittsburgh, but put together a timeline that helps us understand what is our cutoff point. And at what point, when we get close to that, do we start having to think about, might proceeding mean that we are forfeiting the Alcoasand reimbursement?
So should we be, as council, approving the motion to move forward with that resolution for the city, or start working on it now versus a timeline? Or, because we've been discussing it for quite some time. It's been a couple of years almost that we've been discussing Perrine as part of the project, and then it's splitting it out for the past year. I would just hate for more time, because then you have to get on city council's meeting agenda and everything else.
Yeah, we keep thinking that we're almost there, and then they continue to say no. We don't have an emotion on the agenda tonight, so if we were to talk about a motion, I don't know if we have anything ready to do a motion to proceed with the resolution to the city, or if that would have to be on next council agenda.
We don't need a motion to move that forward. You can make a motion. This was really just about getting council support about moving forward. And we don't even need an official motion. We just needed to kind of take the temperature of the room to see that we wanted to move forward, because I know there was discussion about potentially not moving forward, and that was before we heard from Sandy. And I think that, it sounds like the general consensus seems to be wanting to move forward, but I think we need, if you want to put it to a vote, we can, but I don't think a vote is required for us to ask the city to get a resolution for a taking. And we don't anticipate getting that resolution to be a very long process. I mean, they can just like us, they could do a resolution at their next meeting.
Right.
And so we just need to get approval from, it would probably be Teresa Creel Smith at this point, is who we'd ask, since it's her district.
And do
And
we
then
know
we
what the
move it
cost would be?
For asking them, there's no cost for asking them for a resolution.
For eminent domain?
Oh, so we would have to pay estimated just
We would
compensation.
have to go through, yeah.
And then
right,
also-
like-
We've already gotten those estimates. The estimate for us was $800. So aside from the legal process itself, which could cost a few thousand.
Yeah, it depends on whether or not preliminary objections are filed. So if they are not, it's just the cost of filing the pleading, which I believe is $150. My time to file it and draft it. And then if they do file preliminary objections within the 30 days after they receive service, that could lead to additional legal fees, because we would have a hearing on those preliminary objections. It also delays the timeline for the payment of estimated just compensation, which delays the timeline for possession of the property.
Right, so those are things that the infrastructure committee has talked about, but the rest of council has not seen the costs that we're talking about. It's just the understanding of the timeline and understanding of what costs we're approving. But again, we're not at the point of voting to spend anything right now.
Right.
We still are within the window of proceeding with this and hopefully getting it done while we still have the Alcoasand reimbursement. But that's what I'm looking for you to explain to council. If we proceed, what are our options? At a certain point, the eminent domain option entails some legal fees. And the possibility that this could drag out longer could mean that we would be doing this project outside of the window that we would get Alcoasand reimbursement.
What is that window? When's the drop dead date for that?
That's what I would
Oh,
like us to have a
and-
clear
and I-
timeline so we can understand that.
And I actually don't know, I don't know if you know that off the top of your head, Larry, when that one is done. I actually do think we have time on that. I don't think that grant. So the EPA would like us to be done with all of our consent decree work by the end of this year, although this part isn't a requirement. So this is not attached to that in any way. It's really just Alcoasand, and I want to say that this is, if I remember correctly, out to the end of 2026. So we do have time from a grant perspective, from a grant collection perspective. And the cost perspective, we've done a significant amount of the work already. I think the additional cost we're probably looking at this time is less than $10,000 total. Would that be?
Oh,
Yeah, and that
yeah.
would be in the very high.
And that would be if there was long drawn out preliminary objections, multiple hearings. Yeah, I would anticipate far less than that.
So for our next meeting, which unfortunately isn't for 3 weeks because of the times of the month, we do a mini presentation just to kind of refresh on the costs, where it is, and the timeline. So that, and then potentially have a motion on the agenda. So if residents want to come and talk, they can also do that.
Yes, that's another piece to this timeline. In order to go forward with the condemnation option, Borough Council will have to pass an ordinance authorizing the condemnation. So again, we would have to advertise for that. So whether you want that on your next meeting agenda or one down the road, that's just something to consider. That is a step that will need to happen before filing can occur.
There isn't a house on the property, so.
No, there's
Okay.
not. It's
Yeah, okay, so-
undeveloped
Yeah.
land.
Mhm. Okay,
Yeah,
so
if
we
you would
still
be-
need that. Okay.
Oh, yeah. It's because you're not condemning a physical property. You're condemning, in this case,
Easement.
it's just an easement. So, yeah, to be able to use that for sewer purposes.
Yeah, we'd be taking a
Sure.
temporary construction easement and then a permanent access easement for maintenance purposes. So that way the borough could go on the property at any time to access that infrastructure.
In the meantime, can we still get the request on the city's agenda just to get things moving, since that doesn't cost anything and doesn't
Mhm.
require us to do anything beyond that?
Yep, and I would say we should just start with the ordinance too, so that we're moving forward and not wasting time. So we can put that on the next meeting.
Yeah, so if we had the ordinance, a mini presentation, and then also getting it on the city's agenda.
Mhm.
And I guess for the other members of council, Mike and Matt, we haven't heard if you're interested in that.
I'd like to see with the mini presentation also, aside from just timeline and cost also, because this was part of another part of the separation project, how does this affect the percentage of flow that we need to meet? If we don't do it, like, is it a very small percentage? Is it a large percentage? I haven't heard numbers since we talked about the percentages as part of the other project, so.
Yeah, it is. It does not put us out of compliance, so it does, but I don't know the exact details, and frankly, they're really complicated calculations on how they do that. I won't be able to, you really can't without like it's incredibly complicated how they do it. And so, but we can at least give an idea of how much this is meant to remove, and we can get all the timeline and exact numbers and all that stuff. And so we can do that, and we can do it. If we put the ordinance on the next agenda, we can do the presentation and all that before we do that ordinance. And so if there's any questions or concerns about it, then we can, ixnay it at that point. Yeah.
I think we learned our lesson on Ewing Road, which was
Yeah.
20 years ago, that if you don't take care of something now, it'll become an issue for a long period of time. And part of that is we have a grant now for 250,000. So if we wait years and then it becomes an issue, then we're paying everything, and it will be a lot bigger cost. So.
Yep.
So Mike, Matt, okay?
Yep.
So next meeting, we'll have a mini presentation, the timeline, costs, ordinance, and what the process would look like for our next meeting. And Ms. Morris, if you want anybody to come to the meeting to speak, that would. Yeah. All right. Wow, Larry, good job on it.
Next item is Ewing Road. We did receive the updated estimates a little bit ago regarding the additional options to help mediate or present a solution to this problem. That information has been forwarded to the Finance Committee for discussion. And that's my update with this.
Yeah, we do want to take this back to the infrastructure committee again for further conversation because those amounts are significantly different. So we want to make sure that there's a thorough conversation before we do a survey or, start collecting public feedback on this. We really want to lay out the pros and cons on each option and the costs and whatnot. So that would be the next step after bringing it to the infrastructure committee.
So infrastructure committee and then either the meeting right after that or very close, then we would have a presentation about the options, wanting public feedback. And
Yeah,
then,
well, we do, and I don't want to just do a public, we also want to do a survey
Mhm.
and get additional information. We just don't want it to be just the folks in the room. We do want to get it out to as many people as possible, CIT members, people who use that as walking, people who use it to walk on, all the different folks. There's been a lot of interest and a lot of competing ideas on what should happen there, so.
Next item's the C20 sewer separation project. Right now, the project is currently at the Duncan Steuben intersection and is proceeding eastbound on Steuben Street. PA American Water is doing their water line relocations as needed. Mill and pave is scheduled right now for mid-June to include Duncan Streets, the Duncan Steuben intersection and Steuben Street up to Crafton Park. Next update is a big one. There is night work scheduled to start on Tuesday, May 27th, and is expected to last a few days through Thursday evening. If they do run into anything unforeseen, they may include Friday evening as well to get the work done. Night work on high volume roads significantly reduces the time required to complete the work. That's why this is happening. Night work is also expected in July on Steuben Street from Linden intersection to West Crafton. And as a reminder, the project impacted roads include Steuben Street from West Crafton to Duncan, Linden Avenue from Maxwell to Steuben, and Duncan Avenue from Maxwell to Steuben. The expected completion date remains at November 12th this year, 2025. No discussion. Next item is the Public Works Building. The bids have closed on this. Bid tabulations reviewed and a letter of recommendation for each contract was received with the lowest responsible and responsive bidders. The total for all four contracts, including the recommended add alternates, is $1,078,820.85. This is $235,000 less than what was budgeted, including the previous completed sewer line work and the excavation work that Crafton's Public Works crew will complete. With that said, I will move into the motion to award the Department of Public Works Building Phase 3 as follows and recommended by Gateway Engineers. Contract 1, General Construction, M.A. Dunn Construction at $478,820.85.
We do need to do these one at a time. The motions themselves
Okay, all right.
have to be done one at a time. So that's calling for a motion for contract 1.
I was gonna say that does include the add alternate of $83,877 for the installation package, and does not include the add alternate of $95,190 for the excavation work that the Public Works crew will complete.
So moved.
Mrs. Contello,
Second.
Mr. Hope. Any discussion or questions? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
Good. Contract 2 is for the electrical work, and the lowest bidder was Allegheny City Electric Incorporated at $261,000. This contract also includes an add alternate, which is for the security system and access control at $25,000.
So the question around this is, do we want to include, we do not have a coordinated system across our different buildings and access points for all of our cameras and everything like that. I have reached out to a couple vendors regarding that. It does seem like the cost of doing that for the entire borough is somewhere in the ballpark of $60,000 to $100,000, depending on what type of program we go with or whatnot. And so I would recommend at this point not accepting the add alternate. We do have time still beyond this to accept the ad alternate. We do have 60 days to accept an ad alternate, from the time that these came in. So I would recommend accepting the contract for the full amount of 261, but leaving the ad alternate off for now as we gather more information, and see what I can reach out to Allegheny City Electric and ask what system they were talking about putting in, see how that compares to, you want systems that are flexible, and generally now they're all, my very limited understanding of this, but they're all branded. Typically you go with one type of system with a brand, and then they're flexible in how you build it out. And there's, different price points for those types of systems. And so we could reach out and see what they were planning to do, and then reach out to the other vendors that we have talked to regarding this. And this might be something that we want to do across all borough buildings. I know there's been interest about getting cameras in the park, and some more security around the park. And this would be a way to link it all together. So before we finalize this, we can have a little more information. So I don't know if there's any questions or comments about that.
One thing I have is usually when it's a new build, they can build in the security system electric very easily when it's new. They do the wiring together, versus, having to add it after the building's there. Would it behoove us to have it done at this time, or does it not matter?
Well, we can still have it done, even if we don't approve it tonight. You could approve the larger contract. I could get in contact with Allegheny City. I would assume that's probably true, but probably less so than maybe other buildings, because this is kind of an open format building. It's not, there's not drywall in every, it's a different style of building. So my assumption is that adding this after the fact would not be nearly as expensive as, let's say, adding it to this building after the fact. But I can clarify that with them. I don't know entirely the answer. That's just my assumption. And so I can get more information, and we can consider this ad alternate at a future meeting. Either 3 weeks from now or the 5. Well, we might have to do it at the next one. I have to look at the dates as far as the approval is concerned.
If we didn't approve the ad alternate and say we didn't do it at all, so that means the building goes in with no access control and no security?
Correct. At this point, unless we sign another, unless we get another deal and set up by then, but we don't have that budgeted for this year, so most likely that work would happen next year. So, but we also they might have flexibility. Allegheny City might be willing to, if, let's say, we don't like the brand that they had thought about going with, or whatever they price this out at, we can figure out if maybe that's something that we want to go with anyway across other buildings and have it tied in.
So what you're saying is there may be a possibility that they put something in at this price point that will tie in with the larger goal.
Yep, absolutely. Yep, that's what I would ask them. Yeah.
Okay.
Do we have we don't have a motion yet to award. This would be to the DPW building. And this would be contract 2 electrical, Allegheny City Electric, 261,000. And whoever makes the motion would either include or not include the ad alternate.
So moved without the alternate.
Okay. Ms. Bolenbacher without the alternate.
Second.
Mr. Hof. Any other discussion or questions?
Is there a reason to think that we don't want the security system and access control that they have included? We
Sure.
had talked about security systems there, and this bid came in under what we had budgeted.
The biggest reason would be that if it's not a very flexible system and it just adds to what we already have, which is a piecemeal system that is not centrally controlled anywhere. And so I think it would behoove us to understand what that is first. So yes, I would say that, yes, we would not want that. If it's not a flexible, if it's a very static system that, then we would have to build on and try to figure out how to combine that with what we have now.
Did we ask for a particular security system
did
in
not.
the bid? We just let them propose whatever they wanted to propose?
Yeah, because we don't necessarily have we don't have a centralized system at this point. It's very hardwired, this building is hardwired It's kind of an old school way to handle those types of systems, so it'd be nice to modernize at some point.
But we should be able to get more information about the system that they're thinking of and whether it would be flexible enough to plug into in the future by the next meeting.
I would hope so, yeah. I mean, at least we can start that conversation. I wouldn't be able to. I'm not sure I'll be 100% ready by the next meeting, but we'll do what we can to get as much information as possible.
I like the idea of having security system around the pool, the parks, the borough building, and one system that can be accessed by all of it, rather than maybe a piecemeal system. And usually you can get a better deal if you combine everything together. Any questions or discussion? Okay. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion passes without the add alternate. Then we have Larry, the plumbing. Yeah.
Contract 3 is for the plumbing work, and that contractor is First American Industries Incorporated at $198,000.
So moved.
Ms. Comptello,
Second.
Mr. Choate. Discussion or questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
Okay, and the fourth and final contract for this project is for the mechanical work, and that contractor is Air Systems Mechanical Contracting Incorporated at $116,000.
So moved.
Ms. Bowenbacher,
Second.
Ms. Comptello. Any questions or discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you. Moving on to the next agenda item is Steuben Linden intersection improvements. And the update here is that the new traffic poles have been installed. The two adjacent pear trees along Steuben have also been removed. And crews were also out there this week building up the signal, mast arms and signal heads. The completion of this project is still slated for end of May this year. And I'd also like to add that the grant reimbursement request for this project has been submitted.
So will this be done next week?
In theory, yeah.
Okay.
I haven't been told if it was going to continue beyond May, so
You have been told, you
I
have,
have not been told that it would go beyond May,
okay.
but I can get a hard date for next meeting
Yeah.
if it's not done by that point. But
Pool will be open, would be,
Mhm.
and the miniature golf will start to be, and that's a high traffic area at that point. So,
right.
okay.
Okay. Moving on is the Linwood and Noble Parks. The update here is just that they are both currently in the design stage. And just moving on to the next item is the road paving and brick plan. Updates remain the same here. The brick road assessment is to start this spring and summer, and that the process is ongoing and will take several months. Part 2 is regarding the road paving as part of the Broadhead Sewer Separation Project. The streets impacted by this will be Belvedere, Broadhead, Poulter, North Emily, Park, Warren, and Cornell and North Linwood Avenues will get brick transfer repair. No discussion. The next item is the Public Works tree pruning workshop that took place last Wednesday. And this consisted of members of the tree commission and the Public Works Department. They got together behind the borough building and went at some trees to demonstrate proper pruning techniques, exchange tips and tricks to help make the process easier. Public Works is often asked to help prune and trim trees around the borough, and we got good feedback. I don't know if Mike, you want
It was
to say
great.
anything?
Great feedback. It was very productive. Public Works was pleased by the training because they were getting a message that was perhaps a little more practical and realistic than what other arborists have told them about trees. So they were really pleased to hear a fresh perspective toward that end. And at the end of the training, they were asking for another one. So there will definitely be another one down the road to continue the conversation.
And that said, that leaves the last item on the engineer's report, which is the permit applications regarding newly received permits for street utility work. We did receive 3 recently, all for PA American Water under the road construction and excavation category. These locations are at 38 Hawthorne, which is gonna have a 4x4 repair, 20 Gray Street, 9x5 repair, and behind 1765 Bar Avenue, a 4x4 repair. And that concludes the engineer's report for this evening.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Keenan. Manager's report.
Yes,
Mr.
thank you.
Price.
First thing up, the Trail Study Committee update, they will be meeting on Monday, June 2nd for their next meeting. They have we have been gathering a list of stakeholders and key people to be interviewed. So I know several people are on that list. We're also looking for some focus groups. We have asked for some additional names from that group. We didn't get as many in the first round, so we're still trying to get a little bit of information from that group on public outreach. We do have a survey that was presented by the consultant, and we're currently putting that in a form that can be broadcast wide and loud. And then that will be leading to a public outreach meeting that is planned for June 23rd. So that is moving along well. And we will look forward to those interactions then. The next thing on my agenda, if there's no questions there, the Safe Streets for All grant, it is open on June 22nd, June 26th. I have not received feedback from everybody. I don't think I've received feedback from Carnegie yet about them applying as well with us. So I'll confirm on that. And before we move forward with that. So I'll provide an update for that at the next meeting. The rental fee inspection resolution, we will have that finalized and ready for discussion at the June 12th meeting, but we did discuss those amounts at a previous meeting, I think not the last meeting, but the meeting before that. So we'll be ready for that discussion. And then the last thing on my agenda, my part of the agenda, is the 2025 Crafton Crocodile Swim Team coaching staff. So we'd like to approve the hiring of the 2025 Crafton Crocodile Swim Team coaching staff as recommended by the Crocodiles executive board members. So with that, I'd like a motion to approve the hiring of the 2025 Crafton Crocodile Swim Team coaching staff as recommended by the Crocodiles executive board members.
So moved. Mr. Hope,
Second.
Ms. Comptello. Any discussion or questions? Names of the 4 people, I believe, were all on the OneDrive.
These are budgeted as part-time or seasonal on the,
Seasonal.
that's part of the season. Thank you.
Is this a different process than we've done in previous years?
We had them lumped in, when the 4, I didn't notice that. Next year we'll do it all at the same time. And I think they got these names to us late. And so I think it was a combination of we approved the full hiring list a little earlier than we did last year, and we didn't get these on the list. So, and they got these to us later, so. Good question.
Another question? Right. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
Okay, and that's it for my part of the agenda.
Okay, Community and Economic Development Report, Mr. Tedeschi.
Thank you, Council President. Bear with me, this will be a little bit longer, so I can address Greg's question at the beginning. I'll first run through the 4 items listed on the agenda. Monday night, the Business Development Subcommittee met for the 3rd time, and we're at a good cruising altitude with that committee. We have clear goals and implementation timelines, and I'll explain those briefly. Our goals are to create, where do I start? We're launching a shop local campaign for all local businesses to participate. We're building a business directory that lists all the businesses in town, and we'll distribute that to anyone who wants it. Also, obviously post it on our website. We're building a business welcome packet to help new businesses understand how to navigate all things Crafton and who to call for what, essentially. let's see here. We are in the process of identifying vacant commercial space within Crafton. And then we will reach out to those landlords and understand if they are looking to fill that space with commercial tenants, what their expectations are, those sorts of things, and if they're willing to work with us. There will be a couple of what we're calling mixers with small businesses and commercial landlords to get them together, talking, collaborating, and working with us to explain perhaps what they need from us and just learning from them and learning from each other. Like I said, we met 3 times. Last Monday was a good meeting. The next meeting is scheduled for June 12th, so we will continue that conversation. Item B, website update. As you all know, the beta version of the site is in your inboxes for review. The current website is still the primary website, as you all know. And once we are comfortable that the stress testing for the new website is passing all the tests, we can get it launched and flip everything over and it will become our primary website. So a little bit on your review timeline here, but I'm expecting perhaps a week and a half, and then we can see if we're ready for a full launch. Planning Commission, next meeting is next week, Tuesday, 6:30 p.m. Zoning's on the agenda, obviously draft zoning. The Trails Committee conversation is on the agenda. Business Development Committee is on the agenda. And those are the 3 primary agenda items. Item D, the conservatorship for Belvedere. We're working through that RFQ process, and we've had a couple conversations now with the solicitor, Steve Corbell, on the topic. We're chatting with others who have experience in this, other administrators who have experience in conservatorships about how to get the word out efficiently to construction teams to actually bid on the project. And that's where we're at with Belvedere. So kind of transitioning, Greg, into your question, let me, just an example on the time it takes to go out for bid. The RFQ process is in a state of limbo right now, and that would be for a general contractor for the project. And that is probably the easiest button that we see. But there's some ambiguity there that we're working through, some legal ambiguities related to the court's order. So just to get something moving at Belvedere, Jim and I are talking about going out to bid for a Serve Pro sort of service. Clear the house, clean it up, get it construction ready. Just to do that, I have to get 3 bids, 3 quotes. All 3 of them are going to have to walk through because they need to know what they're bidding on. And all of those quotes need to be lower than roughly $23,000. And if the quotes come in higher, then that's the state procurement guideline for a formal RFP process by which I get to write an RFP and do the whole thing over again and walk through it all over again. So we're hoping the bids come in lower. But even to get step 1 started with Belvedere is going to take several walkthroughs, some paperwork, coordinating, scheduling, all of those things. So that's an example of what's coming with Belvedere. Not even discussing all the work. And Anna was the lead attorney on this, all the work we've done just to get to the place that we're at now. So it seems easy launching into this, but there's a lot of rules associated with it that we have to follow. So it takes a lot of administration. Another hot topic over the course of the past couple of weeks is the lot line revision down on Ewing Avenue and DeSoto, more or less, which is under our subdivision application process, chapter 197 in our Borough Code. There was 3 meetings in the past couple of weeks on that topic. Planning Commission approved the application process moving forward with several conditions associated with the application. So I have to obviously verify that those conditions were met, work with the applicant, work with the applicant's engineer, worked with our solicitor on this to make sure we're square to bring this to council's consideration, which should be in a couple of weeks. Probably the next meeting on June 12th, it'll be on your agenda. And all of that takes time. There's a lot of technical work to go back and forth on, even for a simple lot line revision. So that's moving forward. Maybe moving back just a little bit, my routine is a monthly routine, just like Jim's, just like really all of you. We're on a monthly routine with meetings. So Tree Commission is once a month, and I administer the Tree Commission. That takes development of the agenda, whatever background documents and support documents are needed for the agenda. And then all the follow-up things that come out of the meeting of the tree commission that I have to follow up on. So tree commissions once a month, that is commission management essentially. So for instance, Duquesne Light sent the borough a notice about public tree removals that they're looking to do. So this is an agenda topic for the next tree commission meeting. But in order to do our diligence to make sure Duquesne Light is making credible statements about tree removals, just today I was out with the arborist inspecting those trees and verifying that they are indeed risky trees that do need removal and they're gonna die anyway. So that's part of the diligence that goes into two tree removals. And then I have to write a letter to each property owner notifying them of the tree removals because that's part of borough code. So I got to make sure everything complies with code, follow up with whatever code tells me to do, follow up with the tree commission, make sure their feedback is incorporated in this, and it takes time. So that's one topic of tree commission, which is a commission meeting once a month. In addition to that, me and Jim participate with the communication and recreation subcommittee of council. That's a little less work for me, but another monthly night meeting. The rec board is another monthly night meeting. They do great, but there are always follow-ups because there's events throughout the year that the borough needs to support and help out with. So there's always follow-ups and planning associated with that. Probably the bulk of my time goes into planning commission preparation, follow-ups, discussions, individual meetings with planning commissioners. Much of this week went into prepping for next week's planning commission, specifically the agenda packet, and making sure everybody on the commission is comfortable with what's going on and taking their feedback. Of course, council is 2 meetings a month, and then the business development committee, which I already discussed, is once a month. So there's a monthly routine leading up to these meetings, coming out of these meetings. Typically, there's 1 or 2 night meetings a month. A couple of weeks ago, we launched a new intern. His name is Kennedy. He's my essentially direct report. He's an intern. He takes a lot of oversight, a lot of time, get him launched, make sure he's square. He's doing a lot of things, and I have to review all of those things. In addition to that, I'm the supervisor for building and code enforcement. It's 2 people. But as we know from the past couple of council meetings at a minimum, building inspections and code enforcement can become hot topics and complicated and require a lot of discussions. So there's a lot of time and energy going around discussions about how to navigate best practices for code compliance and building inspections. Jim mentioned the rental inspection ordinance as an example of this. There's going to be some good prep work going into how to launch this and notify people of this. That's going to take time, and we're going to have to do it well. So that's coming down the pipeline very rapidly. The recent grant for the downtown improvements via DCED, which Infrastructure Committee is managing, obviously I'm participating with that conversation. That's going to take procurement, that's going to take design, it's going to take consensus building with different entities of the borough and the public. That all takes time. I want to make sure I'm capturing my notes well. Some intern. Oh, and the past few weeks, numerous meetings related to diligence and best practices around an executive session topic that we discussed a few weeks ago. So that took some time as well. So I guess the moral of my story here is that there is a monthly routine. It's a rare week where there's not a night meeting. And it's, like I said, it's preparation leading up to these meetings, these night meetings, and then follow-ups coming out of them and continuing that routine. That summarizes it. Hopefully that helps. Oh, I forgot the newsletter as well. That's in my routine. Yeah.
I have 2 questions. First one, the intern, that was through the local government academy, correct?
Correct. Yes.
Do we know what Kennedy's going to be focusing on this year? Have you thought about the project?
Yes, he is going to be a ventilation valve for me for all things Business Improvement Committee. Specifically, he will literally walk the streets of Crafton trying to figure out where the vacancies are, what properties are vacant. Doing all of that. A lot of work toward looking at economic development opportunities and prepping those documents. So there'll be a business recruitment document coming out of him. He will be deeply engaged and go to the business development meetings. He'll go to the planning commission meetings. He's got quite the long list, actually.
We've had interns the past couple of years through LGA and they've been really good.
They are really good. Yes. Kennedy is a graduate student in international studies at Pitt.
My other question is maybe actually more for Jim, but well, either of you, since it was on your agenda for the conservatorship, that reminded me that we've also had questions about the property at 11 Fountain. Is there any update on that one?
We do not yet have an update. We might be taking that to appeals court, but I need to wait for Steve to get back to ask about that specifically. We've had numerous problems trying to get an administrative search warrant through the magistrate, so we're looking at other avenues at this point, but I don't have an update on that yet.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Tedesco. Standing committee reports are Finance, Administrations, and Sustainability. Mr. Ho.
Thank you. The Finance Administration and Sustainability Committee met recently and we did review the 2025 budget to actual as we always do, and happy to report that pretty much all budget items are still trending as we, for the most part, expected. There were some small overages due to the extra amount of snow that we had this year, as well as the really bad storm, but nothing crazy. And there's other areas where we are under budget and we'll make up for those. So nothing to throw a red flag at there. We did also begin preliminary review of some of the Ewing Road alternatives, but ultimately we want to evaluate those again after the infrastructure committee has some better recommendations or some ideas around those. So, but it is nice to have numbers in front of us at this point, or some numbers to start considering. And that is all I have for my report, unless there's any questions.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Mr. Ho. Infrastructure and Land Use, Ms. Comptello.
The Infrastructure and Land Use Committee last met first week of May, so it was actually before our last council meeting. We haven't met again since. But just some standing updates. We did get funding. We've been talking about this since the beginning of 2025. We did get a grant from the state of Pennsylvania to do an energy audit on our municipal buildings, so that is well underway and should be wrapping up shortly. We also received a $325,000 grant, $325,000 grant through DCED, also state of Pennsylvania, for pedestrian and other business improvements. This one we've talked about a few times, and we will have more updates coming in coming months as we start to refine some of the things that we can, some of the improvements and some of the purchases that we can make under that grant. It has been reviewed by the business development subcommittee and planning commission. Some of the ideas for things that we can include in that have also been shared here in council and publicly. And a lot of the improvements that we listed in the grant, we are limited to spending the money on things listed in the grant. But a lot of those things are fairly small but substantial improvements, trash cans, lighting, et cetera. And we should be able to do a fair amount with it. We will be advancing that and moving that forward and probably getting some community input. But again, we haven't had any meetings, any further meetings since the last council meeting. So no major updates other than the one which I think we did announce last time, but I'll repeat it this time anyways. We had looked into trying to see if we could augment that funding by merging it with some available grant funding that we have from another project. And unfortunately, that was denied. The grants do have very strict constraints on them. And we looked into seeing whether we could combine the two, and we could not. So 325,000 is our total that we have to play with for those pedestrian and business district improvements. And then the other update for me, this one is a little bit different. I did attend the Connect monthly member meeting this month and wanted to share some updates from that. We had a really interesting discussion. A lot of other municipalities were talking about their response to the big storm. And there were some really good experiences, lessons learned, and some ideas that were put forth that I wanted to share. A lot of communities talked, we had an exercise where everyone went around and talked about some of their key lessons learned. And a lot of communities were talking about communication. Difficulties trying to have quick communication and communication when power is out and when cell service is down. How do you get the word out to people very quickly when not everyone has cell service, people don't have power, they're not able to check their internet, maybe they're not able to get phone calls. So there was some discussion about different options that are available for emergency services. Several communities shared things that they have in place, and other ideas were shared for things that can be further explored. So I think that is something that Connect is going to look at, gathering more resources and continuing that conversation. So we'll be continuing to watch that, I think, and see what ideas we can bring back to this community. One of the other things that came up a lot was support, particularly for people who, I know this was a big deal here, and it was talked about in other communities as well. Support for people who need, trying to identify and know how to identify people who need emergency electricity more urgently. People who are on life-saving machines, for example, life-saving healthcare, and need that equipment to be functioning. People who are dependent on refrigerated medications, for example, people with very small children fall into that category sometimes as well, who need access to refrigeration. We certainly have resources here in the community that, I think no one was expecting the storm to be that bad. So there was a lot of discussion about the types of systems and emergency protocols that we could have in place to be able to more quickly recognize, identify. There was some discussion from other communities of perhaps having a registry, and some discussion of whether people like that idea or not like that idea. But again, a lot of discussion about the types of things that can be done to try to more quickly identify and know who is most at risk, and how quickly can we have a plan in place to be able to get generators or make, borough facilities available for electricity, for refrigeration, for things like that. And out of those discussions, there was one thing that was shared. There is a NIMS training. This is something that I was not familiar with, and a number of other attendees of this meeting were also not familiar with it. I'm assuming that we do have people who have been through the NIMS training.
Yes.
But making that perhaps more known to all of council members, a little bit about what it is and what we can learn from that. I actually didn't write down the entire name of it, so perhaps Mayor Perry knows the full name of it.
We'll discuss it and, bring some of that to council to
National
fully
Inventory
explain
of
and,
something system.
yes.
And then there was an idea that was very popular of having an annual emergency preparation day. This could be something that, different communities could do their own, but perhaps we could coordinate with, across municipalities, across the county, to do it on a recognized day, to share resources around this. And the idea of that was that, and other communities do this as well. This is very much more common in places like Florida, places that have very frequent emergency disasters. People are used to having backup emergency, having, keeping lights on hand, having, fire blankets on hand, having extra food on hand, having water on hand, having an emergency plan in place, and having an annual event or an annual gathering, an annual reminder to kind of give resources, remind us all what best practices we can be following, and helping to prepare our residents to, think about what they can be doing to have an emergency protocol in place. That was a really good idea, and something that the Connect group will continue working on, trying to organize something like that and make some resources available to communities that would like to do an event like that. The only other major thing I wanted to share from that, and I don't have a specific date for this yet, but there was some discussion about the funding changes with the new federal administration. There are constantly, new legislation being passed, programs being funded more, funded less, how funding is working for different programs, the amount of funding given to different agencies in different states is changing. We don't know fully what the impact of that will be yet, but there's always new legislation. Every administration passes it. Every year there's new legislation. Right now there's a big bill going through Congress that will likely have implications on the amount of funding available to states and to local governments. And so the county is planning an informational session that should be open to everyone. So I'm sharing it publicly. We don't have a date yet. It will certainly be shared with all of the elected officials. They are planning an informational session to kind of walk through the funding changes and how that will affect local governments. And that's planned for sometime in early June. And that was all.
Right. So Ms. Comptella, Communication and Recreation, Ms. Bollenbacher.
I would again like to thank everybody who attended the garden party. It did turn out beautiful. And I would like to thank all the volunteers as well. They did a great job. Some upcoming events that we have coming is this Monday, the 26th at noon. We're going to have a Memorial Day remembrance and honor ceremony. It'll be at noon on the lawn in front of the Borough building. The 4th of July celebration is also fast approaching. That is Friday, July 4th. It starts at 4 p.m. and it will be over around 11 whenever the fireworks have completed. The entertainment we have for the day is a band by the name of Smoke and Mirrors. We are going to have the return of the inflatable obstacle course. It seems to be a popular item, as well as food trucks, the petting zoo, face painting, spin art, balloon animals, and the yard games. So
10 o'clock though, isn't it?
10 o'clock is the fireworks. Isn't that when it starts?
9:30.
9:30.
Yeah, and they aren't going till 11.
Okay.
So,
No, we
yeah,
can't.
just till, it's gonna be too long.
And just as a usual reminder, our other upcoming events this year is Fall Fest, Saturday, September 27th. Celebration of Lights, Saturday, December 6th, then Holiday House Tour, Sunday, December 14th, which of course, more details to come. We also have our ongoing events such as yoga in the library, coffee, creativity, and community, and a bunch of library events. So please check the website. We do have a couple new ones starting. We are going to start yoga and meditation in the park. That's going to be Saturday mornings at 10 a.m. And that starts on June 7th. We're going to be rotating the yoga instructors, the meditation instructors, but it's free to anybody. So feel free to come. And of course, that's also weather permitting. Mini golf will be starting this weekend, the 30th. That's next 2 weeks from now, right? Yeah. May 30th. So it'll be Fridays, Saturdays, $2 a round, and that'll happen all summer through probably somewhere around Halloween, depending on the weather. A note just for people to know, the opening of the pool has been pushed back because of Mother Nature not being very friendly. So our new opening day will be Saturday, May 30th. 31st. Yeah, sorry about that. 31st and June 1st. It's just for the weekend. That's it for events, and our newsletter is being currently reviewed. That should be out in June. Unless anybody has any questions, that's it for my report.
Thank you, Ms. Bollenbacher. Board Commission recruiting, Ms. Comptello.
Okay, it's a bit of a shorter list today, but as always, all of our positions are posted on the website, and you can see those that are filled, when they will become vacant, and certainly which ones are open now. So current open positions, there's only one open at the moment. It's the Civil Service Commission. We're looking for one alternate seat. It is a 6-year term, and this will be a term that expires on February 1st, 2029. To apply for that, you apply at craftonborough.com/commissions, which is, again, is where you would find all of the positions that are held, including when they will become available. One of the upcoming positions, there are a couple of zoning hearing board positions that will become available within the next year. There's one 3-year regular term, full term on the zoning hearing board will become available, and one alternate seat. And both of those will be open as of January 1st, 2026. And same thing again, you find the application and apply for that at craftonborough.com/commissions. Given that it doesn't open until January 1st, 2026, if you're interested, you can go ahead and get that ready now if you want. You're a little early, but you can also earmark it and be ready a little later in the year, come fall. We'll continue giving these updates at every council meeting. And that is all.
Council of Government, Ms. Bowenbacher.
I was unable to attend the last meeting, so I don't have a, were you able?
I was not, that's that week I was sick last week,
Okay.
and I was sick the whole week, so I didn't think going to a meeting
Copy is probably not-
wouldn't have been a good idea, so I did miss that.
So
Thank
I
you.
don't have a report on the previous meeting, so all I can let you know is the next meeting is Thursday, June 19th at 6:30 at the Carnegie Community Center. It is the last meeting before the COGS summer break. And as always, I'm taking friends, so if anybody wants to come, let me know. And that's it.
Well, thank you. Great, some community announcements. Our next council meeting is June 12th. That is 3 weeks away due to the calendar at 7 p.m. Pool passes are available. Again, the pool will open. It says May 24th. It should be the 31st here, based on the weather through September 1st. And those are available for Crafton residents at a resident rate and Carnegie, Ingram, Roslyn Farms, and Thornburg residents at non-resident rates. And there's child, senior, adult, and family rates. The Memorial Day commemoration ceremony is Monday at 12 noon in front of the Borough Building here, and the names of all the Crafton residents who gave their lives in the service to our community will be read. This year's focus will be on the 50th anniversary of the Vietnam War. Ms. Mayor, do you have anything on that one at all?
I think that covers,
Covers it all.
that covers most of it,
Okay.
except that it is that they gave their lives in service to our country, not our community.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah. And it says that here. That's good.
Yes, it's always a very touching ceremony.
Mhm.
It really does bring home
Mhm.
what Memorial Day is about.
Mhm.
And I have been greatly honored to be one of the main leaders for a number of years now.
The Boy Scouts participate, right?
Yeah, the Boy Scouts raised the flag
Mhm.
and yes.
Okay. Well, 4th of July celebration is Friday, July 4th, 4 to 10 p.m. And I believe the fireworks start at dusk. And there's food trucks, activities for the whole family, inflatable, a whole bunch of inflatable stuff, a zoo, petting zoo, balloon artist, face painting. And also Chief Sumner's retirement party and swearing in of the new police chief will be occurring there
That's
too.
right.
So anything to say
I
to
don't know
that?
that it's gonna be a retirement party, but we are going to send him off
Mhm.
and we're gonna welcome Chief Ford.
Mhm. And there's a really nice article in the newsletter coming up on
Yes,
Chief Sumner.
both of
Yeah.
them.
Mhm. Yeah. Do we know what time that will be? You have the times?
We're yet to be discussing with the rec board, but I'm anticipating early in the afternoon as activities start, probably
Okay.
before the entertainment starts.
Great. Okay. Thank you. Any other announcements? Okay. Public comments. At this time, citizens may address the Crafton Borough Council on any issue. Only residents and taxpayers of the Borough of Crafton will be permitted to address the council. Speakers will be permitted to speak for a maximum of 3 minutes. Groups of people will be required to designate a spokesperson to represent them before the council, who may speak for a maximum of 5 minutes. Council has the option to respond or not at the end of the address. The solicitor is the assigned timekeeper. Please state your name and physical address for the record. And for this, you can just raise your hand. Yes, Ben.
Yes, Ben Belmont, 270 West Steuben Street. I have two questions. One, when you state that night work will begin on Steuben Street, could you give an exact hour time? So that people are aware, and could you also put a savvy citizen a reminder with that time as well. And second, when you know a storm is coming, like the big storm, I would suggest maybe putting it as savvy citizen report before everything happens so that people have directions before they might lose their power or phone service. That is all.
Thank you, Ben. Okay, so Ben's first question was around, do we know what time the night work will start?
So night work consists of work between 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. And there was a savvy post sent out earlier
Mhm.
today. regarding
Did
that.
it have the times on?
It did.
It did, okay. And is it straight from the morning through till 6, or are they taking a break in between?
They work straight 12 hours,
Okay,
6 a.m. to 6 p.m.
okay. I meant before that. Are they working during the day?
No,
Oh, okay, so the day work will then occur at night instead.
correct.
Okay. Okay. And I think Savvy Citizen said why, because there's less traffic, which allows for them to complete work quicker. than
Correct.
they can during the day.
They had been experiencing delays up to this point with utilities, the weather, and they're really just trying to stay on schedule.
Right. Second thing was Savvy Citizen report on what would happen prior to a storm happening, or what citizens should do.
I think some of the, the big lessons as Kirsten was talking about is that they are sneaking up on us more. They're getting more severe, and
Yeah.
we're all working in discussions to have more faster response. I mean, one of the things as Ms. Capitello was talking about is one of the benefits of being part of the Connect community. The Connect organization brings a lot of municipalities together, and we all had different experiences. So there's a lot of discussion and a lot of planning going on, and particularly here and regionally, to provide more rapid response and anticipating needs, because one of the big one of my biggest things and that we were trying to do was to identify people who did have needs that might not have been getting met, and ideas around whether there's maybe a voluntary registry so that we know. But yes, we'll definitely be using Savvy Citizen as we go forward.
Great. All right, anybody else? Ross, yeah.
Yeah, hi. As far as the emergency preparedness, the borough passed the emergency preparedness plan last April. And I was wondering, like, who gets that call to enact that emergency preparedness plan that we do have? And I was wondering, was that plan actually activated during the emergency? And also, is there going to be some sort of a committee or discussion to talk about lessons learned as far as the plan? Emergency preparedness plans are routinely updated. And so my question is, was our emergency preparedness plan activated? Who's supposed to take that phone call no matter what time at night? And if there will be a follow-up committee to do lessons learned to make sure that our preparedness plan, with the help of comments from Connect, to make sure that we have the best plan available for such emergencies. So,
Thank you.
So to answer some of Greg's questions, the emergency preparedness manager is currently our police chief. That is likely to continue. Will be discussions about that. And I will say, no, it was not, because it was not the type of event that we were thinking was going to create some of the things that it did create. We had no idea at the time that that there would be ongoing needs. And I think that one of the biggest lessons that we have learned is that the emergency preparedness plan is really designed for things like major, explosions, railway incidents and things like that. And it does need to be looked at. So, we have new chiefs starting, and yes, we are planning on putting a committee together, trying to, very much like with the trail study, trying to identify different stakeholders that can come together and talk about what's changing, what sort of things do we need to be doing, and what do we need to be prepared to do. I know that from, right after I was talking, with the manager and with the chief, trying to ascertain, how much outage we had, whether there were needs. And honestly, it did take a couple of days before we realized that there was a significant portion of town that was out of power for multiple days. We had essentially in this community, we had a lot less damage and a lot less fallout than many of the other communities. And once we realized that it was going to go beyond a couple of days, we did work with our police department and our administrative staff, and the plan was to have essentially been doing a door-to-door to make sure that everybody was okay. And it was about at that time that the power came back on in that area, that there were so many people who were without power. And I think, as whatever any of our thoughts are about climate change, we are experiencing more severe weather more quickly. And then we have the other thing that we have to be looking at is the potential changes in the national weather, NOAA, and whether our notifications are going to come, whether they are going to continue to come or whether we're going to get less notifications. So we need to be looking at, what does that mean? And then how do we assess what our community needs are? I know the one thing that, as we started talking about from immediately, I mean, Public Works came out like right away. They had heavy equipment out there. They worked almost around the clock, making sure, getting, roadways and anything that they could clear up, they did. They worked really, really hard. But, one of the biggest things, and I think that everyone, there's been back and forth on social media and such, is the understanding that a lot of what happens is when, the trees come down and when there are wires of any sort involved, our Public Works cannot touch them. And so there's a whole process of determining whose wires they are. And so, and then, I think what I want to, what we had like on the trail, when the utilities, Duquesne Light, had so many out and they were struggling, and how they did their priorities, working with, with things that are more dangerous, more involved with properties, with larger segments of the property. So I know that I saw a lot of back and forth about the issue we have up on the trail. And it's like, it doesn't involve a property. it doesn't involve a roadway, you know, that sort of thing. And so it did take a number of, it took a number of days. So, all that said is, yes, we were all, we were all surprised by the severity of it and how long an area of our town was without power. And we will be looking at it and addressing it and working on how we can be more prepared. And I will say that we are very, very fortunate with our new chief coming on, who has had a lot of this experience in the city over his 25 years. And he's going to be able to bring a lot of really great ideas here and to help us be more active and more proactive.
I just want to say one thing, that our public works was phenomenal
Yes.
in what they did. So I just want to make sure that that's clear to everybody, that, and I think everybody knows that, but I think it needs to be said in a public forum that they did a phenomenal job.
Yep.
So
And
thank you.
we did acknowledge that.
And our police department as well.
Yes.
Everybody did.
Yes,
So,
they
and the citizens, everybody did. So we all got together. So thanks.
I think the interesting thing about it is that I don't think we even knew anything was going to happen at the beginning of the day, and it happened like at rush hour, and people were still at work, and then it happened, and then it went away, and then that was just.
And our fire department.
Oh, okay. Now get my time. But we didn't know it was happening, so emergency response plan is very
Right.
hard to do. I think today I got an alert about a tornado
Right.
coming through, so now it's almost like, do we trust
Yep.
that, or
Right.
how do we
And-
know what's gonna happen?
As you mentioned, Greg, the fire department, because I had been in communication with the fire chief as well. And, once we realized it was going on for a couple of days, they were working on standing up, essentially doing a door to door.
Was Duquesne Light pretty proactive with communicating with the borough?
No,
Oh, no,
no, I mean,
they don't communicate with us.
Okay,
We have to go to their website and figure it out.
like everybody else does.
Yep.
yes.
Yep.
Yes, absolutely.
That was also something that came up at the Connect
Pardon?
meeting. A lot of
Yes.
municipalities were complaining that they'd had very poor communication from Duquesne Light. But others were saying that they had a much better response when they went through the government affairs contact that they had. So there was a lot of discussion about, on behalf of municipality, just know really well who your government affairs person is at Duquesne Light, and just call them and don't go through their website.
All right, anybody else? Ms. Morse?
Sandy Moore, 1781 Bar Avenue. I completely agree that people are way more important than the Clearview Trail. Everything. That's perfectly fine. Just curious, do we have any idea when it's gonna reopen?
We have not received notice from them at all. I know that the things that are not attached to properties are taking much longer
Okay, so
because they still had, as of last week, still had properties in the county that were out. So I know that that's their focus. So I don't know. I haven't been up on the trail. I haven't been up by, have you heard anything, Larry?
I touched base with them last week about it, reminded them that they needed to go up there and address the issue. They told me that they would have someone out there, crew out there by the weekend, but I've been going up there to check, and it's still down, and they have not responded to my email.
I was just curious. I mean, it's not a live wire still.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it could be.
That-
I don't
that-
know.
We don't.
I don't
No, I
Yeah.
understand that. I'm just like,
Yeah, and we don't even assess, we don't even
Yeah.
assess whether it's live or not, because the amperage going through that wire,
No, I'm-
if it's live, it's like,
I was
yeah.
just curious. I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
But
don't,
It really is a
Pretty
dangerous
serious
situation,
thing.
and the sawhorses and Savvy Citizen said the trail is closed. And there's been a lot of, conversation on social media that, I think most people know.
Yeah, it's up to Duquesne Light.
Right,
I mean,
Yeah.
it seems like a very bad hazard that it's.
it is,
Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely.
Just my other question is, are nicely paved Rushway? The water company has come and dug up 2 spots of it already. Do we know if they're gonna come back and fix them?
Any others?
No, that's it. I'm done.
That's it, okay.
That's it.
Okay. 3 times, right? You still, no. Yeah, you volunteered. Yeah. You get 3. And the next meeting, remember, because we're gonna have the Perrine thing. So you'll be a guest speaker. Go ahead, Larry, on Rushway.
It is expected that they will come back and finish whatever work that they do that is in kind. I'm not aware of what is unfinished up there that they have done.
The water company came and dug up and left like mounds on the newly paved.
Yeah, they might have been emergency repairs if they weren't listed. So we usually get notice after the fact. In those cases, so those weren't on the list, were they?
No,
Yeah, then we should be getting notification of it then. Do you know what day that happened?
Within a week after.
Yeah.
yeah, these are the 2 locations where the curb boxes may have been behind the residences. I was aware that they would go up there and replace those. Right.
You have it on list, 1760.
Oh, yeah.
So that was, yeah, that's the 2 curb boxes that they replaced. That's probably one of them, yes. Yeah, well, I'll go up there and see what it looks like and let them know, but typically they repair after or they restore after they repair, so.
Yeah, and oftentimes they won't, they'll do they'll do a temporary repair and you won't see them come out and pave till the end of the year. Unfortunately, sometimes that happens, yeah.
Yeah, it's just a shame that it happened like within a week after they.
Yeah, it's our nightmare. Like, yeah, this is why we're trying to get a 5-year paving plan and all that stuff. But even with that, I mean, that was, these things happen, there's nothing we can do about when they,
No,
if they come back out, we don't have a way to stop them.
unfortunately, I believe this to have been like fault from the paving contractor out there with their milling, and I believe that this is from them accidentally milling car boxes and without PA American Water, and them PA American having to go out and repair them. That's what I believe this is from.
Okay. So, yeah, I don't know, that we'll have to talk about if there's a way we can get compensation for that then too. But sure, yeah.
Anything else? Okay. Would you want to talk? Oh, after the meeting. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Okay. And, yeah, sure, Karen.
I'm Karen Tomczyk, Park Street. I guess this is probably a question for the mayor. We all know Crafton made news last week, and well, it wasn't very positive. And I was just wondering if that guy that has been harassing people, if he was apprehended or if there's been any further incidents.
So,
Wait,
no, he has not been apprehended. And one of the questions, oh, I'm sorry, I thought you were finished, excuse me.
Yeah, I am.
Oh, were you okay?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I'm actually having a little trouble hearing
Oh.
since that respiratory thing. No, he has not been apprehended. He has not been seen around. And one of the things that I did see on social media that they were asking, this was not a random situation. These were people who were known to each other and involved with each other. So, I understand that generally, the police don't like to give out those kinds of details. But, understanding that, there's some concern, there are questions, we got some rando out here and unfortunately, fortunately, it's not that. Unfortunately, it is essentially a very bad domestic situation.
All right, anyone else? Anybody online, please raise your hand. Hands raised. All right, with that, meeting adjourned. It is 8:33.